Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and before we get going, I want to remind you, this is from Scott Lynn, the CEO of Masterworks. He says, our $1 billion investing platform lets you diversify your portfolio with multi-million-dollar paintings without spending millions. Question, what asset class has outpaced the S&P 500 for the past 20 years? Contemporary art. And he's also got this, that he says, tired of the market's volatility, and if you go forward, art versus S&P 500, contemporary art 14.1%, S&P 500 9.9%. In these times where we're watching CNBC and the markets are getting tanked, investors are going to be looking for things that go counter to all of that. I'll leave this in the top of the description of this video if you want to check it out. Now, look at this. In November, this is from Deutsche Bank, in November, SWIFT will migrate to the new global payment messaging standard ISO 20022. With just 7 months to go, flow explorers and challenges so far, and those that still lie ahead of the industry. Now, a lot of people, when they hear all of us talking about ISO 20022, they're like, well, what does this have to do with Ripple and all this? Well, what I always go back to is this. This is an article, June 3rd, 2020, ISO 20022, Shaping the Future of Cross-Border Payments. Listen to this. Now we're thrilled to share that Ripple is a part of the ISO 222 Registration Management Group standards body, and the first member focused on distributed ledger technology. This membership enables us to meet the needs of our 300 plus customers by helping define the future direction of cross-border payment standards to evolve the ISO 222 standard. So this is a very big deal for Ripple and XRP. Now, Rob Licker sent me something that I found fascinating. This, my friends, I believe is called karma. I never get pleasure in anybody's, in any problems for anybody, but sometimes I think people get some karma. Multicoin Capital down 95% on its 8-figure investment in NFT project Loot. Now, why would I take any pleasure in that? Well, I'm going to have to give you the flashback. This is bombshell incoming. I tweeted this about 2 weeks ago, I think. What information did those involved have with the public that the public did not? Did they trade with that information, retweet everywhere? Just found out who was shorting XRP. This guy in this video is Kyle Samani, managing partner at Multicoin Capital. The video is from 12/13/2018. Chris Dixon of Andreessen Horowitz was limited partner in Multicoin Capital. Okay, this is Tushar Jain's firm, the same. He's the guy that was bashing Ripple and had a hunch the SEC would sue them. A16 was effectively shorting it, XRP. So listen to what this guy says. Now remember, both Union Square Ventures and Andreessen Horowitz are limited partners in Multicoin Capital, and they were both firms that were behind the scenes helping to craft what became the Ethereum free pass. These guys are huge Ethereum guys, and then a few months later, these guys are saying, well, you know, we're shorting XRP because we think the SEC is going to sue them. My question is, did they know anything, or were they just guessing? Listen to this video. It makes me sick.
There was some other news this week, too. We have Andreessen Horowitz, one of the leading Silicon Valley venture capital firms, opening their first cryptocurrency fund, $300 million they put into it. It's the first major VC firm to open a crypto fund. You also have a crypto hedge fund. I mean, does this industry need more competition in the fund world? Does this make it harder for you to raise money?
I think it's a super good thing for the ecosystem. Chris Dixon, who's one of the GPs there, and I think Katie Hahn's the other. Chris is an LP in our fund in Multicoin, so know them for a while. Overall, it's a great thing for the ecosystem. We're talking to a lot of endowments today who are looking at the crypto ecosystem, and there's just a real challenge for them and kind of career risk because it's unknown space, a lot of unknown fund managers, and being able to take a top-tier firm with a very well-known general partner there who's been there for 5 or 6 years now, and to kind of launch a dedicated vehicle. It's a very good way for existing institutional LPs to be able to invest in crypto through a known entity or a known vehicle. So I think it's kind of the trickle of opening the floodgates of institutional capital is starting to come in through Chris and Katie's new fund.
Which coins are you shorting?
We're definitely very long biased, and it is our general bias is to be fully deployed or close to fully deployed. And that's where we want to be. We are not fully deployed at the moment, and we are not fully long right now. We have a few shorts open. That's largely a reflection of market cycle, and then a few idiosyncratic views about certain assets. So right now we have, for example, shorts open on Ripple and Litecoin. Like Litecoin, in my view, has no reason to exist. It was a fork of Bitcoin. It's just been sitting around.
It's a harsh assessment.
The only investment thesis I've ever heard for Litecoin is it's a testnet for Bitcoin, but that's not an investment thesis. And so, it trades. It's got a 2, 3, 4 billion market cap, whatever the number is. But it doesn't really have a reason to exist. It's clearly more risky than Bitcoin, just kind of structurally in terms of brand and everything else. When we look at Ripple, Ripple is just, they keep selling into the market.
Who else? Who was selling Ethereum into the markets? Nobody knows because nothing's been audited with that. And they haven't told anybody what they've been selling. But we do know Vitalik Buterin instructed the Ethereum Foundation to sell like 70,000. We've got him on video. But this guy has no problem with that. Ethereum's completely valuable because that's not relevant to this guy.
Based on kind of the SEC's guidance from a couple weeks ago about Ether being not being a security, it's quite clear to us that Ripple is a security. We don't know when that news is going to drop. But the catalysts seem to have kind of gone away from Ripple, and we have very high conviction that it is a security. And so, as kind of the system plays out over time, we think that short will deliver idiosyncratic return.
Man, I can't watch this without feeling dirty, I got to tell you.
So the security label is kind of a designation that kind of dooms these cryptocurrency. I think it's kind of a fatal designation.
So the challenge with being labeled security in the space formally is that not a single exchange in the world today that trades crypto is a SEC-registered exchange. If you go to the SEC's website and look at exchanges, SEC-certified exchanges, there's like 10 or 12 of them. It's NASDAQ, NYSE, CFTC, the CBOE, right?
Well, a bunch of them are pursuing financial regulations that will allow them to do that.
And some have broker-dealer licenses like Coinbase and some others.
Right, so Coinbase has got an ATS now. They got a broker-dealer license, but that's a long way away from being an SEC-registered exchange. And that's a multi-year process, and that's well known to be a super, super difficult thing to do. And so my point is that if Ripple is labeled a security formally by the SEC, all of the crypto exchanges are going to stop trading Ripple because they are not SEC-certified exchanges, SEC-registered exchanges. And so if that happens, liquidity is going to dry up on XRP and the price will plummet.
Well, we'll just have to see how the coins fall.
Yeah, I really feel dirty after watching that. Now, speaking of dirty, these Congress people are starting to really get pissed off at Gary Gensler. Well, it's about time. You should have been pissed off 6 months ago, if not longer. We've been at this for a year trying to blow the horn here. We've blown the whistle, but Gary Gensler does not reward whistleblowers that are not in his interests. Otherwise, we would have millions coming to the XRP community. Why are the Democrats protecting Gary Gensler and the SEC? American investors deserve answers from the people tasked with overseeing our capital markets. Congress should fulfill its constitutional role to conduct oversight. Read my letter with Patrick McHenry below. And so they're trying to get Gary Gensler in front of them for hearings, and they need to. Now, Brad Garlinghouse, credit to Leonidas, give him a follow. Brad Garlinghouse was at the Milken Institute this week, and Leonidas had put out a full clip that's right here, and I took out everything except Brad Garlinghouse talking, and I was going to let you see at least part of it.
Innovation OG on this channel. If you look at your background,
that's a good thing or bad thing.
Let's call it a good thing. How has disruptive technology personally changed your life?
I remember the first time I was introduced to the internet. My younger brother was visiting me. I was working at SBC Communications, and he said, "You have an IP address." And this was 1993, and I, of course, what the hell's an IP address? But downloaded Mosaic, which ended up being Netscape. And for me, it was a transformational moment because you can see how some of these technologies, in terms of giving access to any information anywhere, and in Amrameen's example, it's access to communication anywhere, and as that has proliferated. And now I think, as we talk about what blockchain and crypto means, is that it's disruptive, I hope constructively, but access to value and the ability to move value anywhere, and how that all three of those things, whether it's access to information, access to communication, and access to value, and reducing the friction of all of those, I think opens up our planet. And I think for me was something that, even in the earliest days of the internet, you could kind of see how this was going to have a pretty profound impact on society. I think at the core, what cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies represent is the ability to remove friction from transactions of all kinds, all shapes, all sizes. I think we started with, as you pointed out, money is at its core, and certainly what Ripple is doing around cross-border payments, taking friction out of those transactions that are error-prone and slow and expensive. But I believe these technologies will impact many different verticals across enterprise as well as consumer. The thing about the disruption piece that I would just offer is I think, unlike some earlier waves of technology innovation in Silicon Valley, there was an ethos that I think became kind of well known in Facebook's era of move fast and break stuff. Uber certainly accentuated that. And in some ways that worked maybe at that place in time. But when you're talking about people's money, the idea of moving fast and breaking stuff is a really bad idea. And so we have thought much more about, let's not be disruptive technologies, but constructive technologies. And I think there's still people in the crypto community who certainly start with disrupt, down with government, down with banks. We take a very different point of view, and I think increasingly many people who are here at Milken from the crypto community are very much, how do we solve real problems? How do we improve people's lives? How do we, you and I backstage are talking about remittances. There's so many examples where you can actually do very good for society in a way that helps grow that industry.
Let's talk about regulation.
That's friction.
Exactly.
Seriously, if you think about it, like by definition, a regulation is partly about putting in some hurdles and roadblocks to protect markets, to protect consumers.
Can you be specific about what's there that is regulating, for example, your company, your industry right now that creates friction?
Look, I'll start by saying I think one of the great farces of what is the crypto industry is a narrative that is coming out of the SEC right now, which says this is the Wild West. As Mayor Adams described, crypto already is a regulated, and in some states more so than others. But I think the key that I think about is how do we make sure that government and regulators, certainly as Mayor Adams has evidence of going from the previous administration to this one, of partnership with the industry. I think we're going through a technical wave that isn't, I think, dissimilar to the internet in the late 90s. In that era, the United States government at a federal level created clarity and certainty about the rules and regulations and how, what were the rules of the road. Today in the industry here in the United States, you really don't have that clarity of the rules of the road for blockchain and crypto. And that has really been at the disadvantage of the competitiveness of the United States. Cities like New York, I think, are trying to call out. Cities like Miami are calling out that problem. Even today, for those of you who haven't read the news, Gavin Newsom issued an executive order for the state of California calling out the fact that there's not regulatory clarity and really championing the need, because about a quarter of the U.S. blockchain companies are based here in California.
I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family to have a good weekend.